destroyed all those old rivalries. But anyway, it's just luck of the draw there. You never know what these young kids will do, Dave. But I'm happy the Mountaineers finally pulled one out after an 0-2 start. But and if things don't get no more fun for them next week, next week we gotta go to Texas. Anyway, we'll probably be sad next week. But anyway, I guess you guys will pick it back up and beat Boston College. Back to you, Dave. QC2.
Okay, very good, Ted. Yeah, I enjoyed the game for a while. The first half was okay. But I don't know. I don't like the offensive coaching. If you can't run it up the middle after 2 or 3 tries, you stop doing it. I know what they're afraid of because that quarterback of theirs throws a lot of interceptions. But he was throwing long on Thursday. He was throwing way long. I guess worried about that. They just need to get in more practice. They'll hone it in. Anyhow, it was an unnecessary loss, as good as the Mountaineers are. We'll see. Anyhow, I like that rivalry. Ted, enjoy the rest of the weekend. W2AO, Stu, come on in.
Yeah, good morning, Dave. Very nice signal here in Fishkill, New York, where fall has started. It is 40 degrees here this morning. A very pleasant day, nice clear blue sky, maximum visibility. So we're using a rig here today we don't use too often. It's a 480HX Kenwoodite. I had a couple of these. I had one in the car for a long time, mobile. This one here I kind of devoted to my shot. And I really
Hey, I have audio. Hey, good morning. Holy crap, have we got a lot to do. Look at this. Yeah. She ain't an 8.5 by 11, but there's enough there to keep us busy for a little while. So what this is, I was contacted by Alex, who's in here, and he asked me a very loaded question. And it's a question, and my posture is extra good, and I'm not slouching, so I need to adjust the camera so the top of my head isn't butchered. He asked me a very loaded question regarding, he's looking at a son. I think he placed an order for an Anan, but he's looking at a son as well. I was a little confused by your email, Alex, but I'm easily confused. So I figured, what better way to possibly answer his question than to do a comparison between the 2 radios on a level playing field. And I'm going to try desperately to stay away from my opinions. However, I am going to share the reasons why I like certain things based on my experience with the 2 rigs, which is going to be very difficult to do. And I'm going to leave the comments enabled, and hopefully I don't get a flame out going. I will be sharing what I prefer, what I observe. This is me personally. This is my own personal operating style. My preferences, based upon having these 2 rigs for almost the Anan I've had over 2 years. The Sun I've had almost 2 years, a year and a half maybe. So what's interesting is I use them for different things. And I've said this before, each one has its strengths and each one has its weaknesses when put against each other. Okay, I'm only dealing with these 2 radios. I know nothing about Flex. I know nothing about anything else. Let me just check the chat here. Okay. I've heard that, Doug, about the new chipset. Protocol 2 is quirky. Geez, you just reminded me of something else, and that goes along with the bandwidth, so I'm going to add that. Thank you for that. Protocols. Okay. Good morning, Marvin. Ed, how you doing? Dean, hi. Hope you guys are doing well. Okay, we're going to get right into it. You don't need to hear me blab about this stuff. There's going to be plenty of blabbing to come. Alex ordered the Anan to order the Sun, but they were out of stock. Okay. I am so tempted to just let her rip and throw it all out there, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you guys be the judge. So what I did was, we're going to start with the TX audio. So what I did was, I brought the exact same audio into each rig, no compression, no limiting, no processing in each of the transceivers, and I picked up the audio and recorded it through K1VL Web SDR on Shrewsbury, which is about 25 miles away. So it's as baseline and as level playing field as you can possibly get. So here we go. Let me see if I can get this on the screen. Audio's muted on the transceiver. So I'm going to start with the TX audio. Now, again, you guys, this is going to be a long one. All right, there is a ton of crap to go through on this. So here we go. Let me see if I can pull this up. So we're going to start with the transmit side. This was done last night on 80 meters. All right, so oh, cow. I've been having monitor issues, and it's become incredibly complicated running all of these different windows on just 2 panels. It's a real pain in the arse. So get this going. Okay, this is a transmit test between the Apache 200D and the Sun SDR2DX. Currently, we are on the 200D by Anan, by Apache Labs. This is an Anan 200D. We're going to listen through the K1VL machine in Shrewsbury, Vermont, which is approximately 25 miles away. So this is a direct TX comparison between the 2 rigs from the perspective of a receiving station, not my own. There is no audio processing on either rig. The audio is being fed directly to each rig from the rack that I use. There's no compression, there's no limiting, there's no EQ, there's no nothing in the transceivers. This is just raw audio being piped to the rig, being transmitted out and received at the K1VL machine. So let's start the comparison. Okay, this is a comparison test between the Anan 200D and the Sun SDR2DX. This is the Anan 200D by Apache Labs, being monitored through the K1VL machine in Shrewsbury, Vermont. This is only a test. Only a test. And this is K1GM wrapping up the test of the Anan 200D TX audio. No processing, no EQ, except for the rack, the direct audio coming into the transceiver, being transmitted out, monitored through K1VL, K1GMM. Moving on to the Sun SDR2DX. Okay, this is the Sun SDR2DX test, comparing the Sun SDR2DX to the Anan 200D transmit only. No audio processing whatsoever. This is direct from the rack audio, no EQ, no compression, 0 in the Sun SDR2DX. Same output drive, same ALC drive. Low power, approximately 50 watts into the K1VL machine, Shrewsbury, Vermont, K1GMM. Okay, so that concludes that test, and we're going to move on to the RX side. Here we go. Okay, stand by. Yep, it seems like, Doug, just a quick comment. I'll comment on anything in the chat. Excuse the audio is very muddy. I didn't go in. I've been playing with stuff as usual, jerking around. too much bottom end in there, but the Sun didn't have nearly the bada boom. And it was the exact same TX profile bandwidth-wise. And that artifact, Doug, is a problem in the rack on the top end. So yeah, you picked that up. The reason why you probably didn't hear it on the Anan is that the Anan was my audio was too bass heavy, way bass heavy. But the Anan, I'm not going to say which I prefer. But as you can tell, the whole purpose of this, as you can tell, is just the raw audio, 2 different transceivers, 2 different sounds on TX. They both sound good. It just depends on what you're trying to go for, right? So ignore the quality of the audio. That's user error. That's messed up, and I flattened everything out on the bottom end. I got a very low voice, and this microphone is brutal. You know, my EQ is, believe it or not, completely flat on the bottom end now, and it sounds much better, much more transparent on the top too. And I had too much. I can't remember what frequency it was in the top end, and that's the artifact you were hearing. Almost like it's not quite crunchy on the top end, but it has this weird, it doesn't have a smooth, silky sibilance to it, you know, and you could hear that on the Sun. Okay, so the whole purpose of this is so that you guys can go back and watch the video, and you can just skip back and forth in the video and listen to each transceiver and do it quick to hear which is, you know, what you like. All right, we're moving on to the RX side now. So let me get the RX up. Where's my folder? Okay, here we go. This is pretty interesting, and I will have some comments about this. Here we go. Hey, Frank. What's going on there, big dog? Okay, we're going to do a receive comparison between the Sun SDR2DX and the Anan 200D. And this is 80 meters. And we will toggle back and forth. I'll do it as quickly as possible. I want to make sure my bandwidth, I want to make sure the receivers are set identical. So, looks like this group is running anywhere from 3 kilohertz to 3.3 kilohertz wide. So that's where I'll set both receivers, no noise reduction, equal playing field. Just running the RF gain on the right here on the Sun, and the AGCT right here, which is this white line on the Anan. So let's get right to it. Just give it a listen, compare the two.
I don't know how to. I don't think the grill comes off the front of it.
It should. There should be 2 screws there. You have a switch on it also for high-low?
No, I don't.
All right, it's a standard one then.
Oh yeah. This was a spec house, so I'm sure it was a cheap one.
I got one that was high-low. I keep it on low, surprisingly. It does just as good a job, I found, than high. And with high, you kind of hear the fan going.
Well, you hear the fan going on mine, but not ticking. You know, it's not loud. It's not offensive at all. It's 22
going to
years
the
old,
Anan?
and I've really never objected to it. But I always have been concerned about what do I do when that fan motor goes. And I hope
this is the Anan.
It's not the fan motor, but whatever the hell it's hitting, I hope it doesn't break.
Well, look at the bottom of your cupboard. See if they had an access panel put in.
Okay, the bottom of the cover, I don't understand. The only thing I have, the only thing you can see from if you get down on your hands and knees is just the grill.
No, I got that, but in the cupboard that it's under, see if the floor of the
cupboard
to the
Sun.
Has an access panel.
Now, let me try this again. This is a spec house, Sean.
Okay, well, if you have a problem, you'll be cutting an access panel.
Oh, boy.
K1TA.
Good morning. No.
Good morning.
Morning, Tom.
Howdy.
Good morning. Howdy.
Back to the Anan.
Brisk degrees down here.
Yes, it's nice. I think I'll be firing up the fireplace. I haven't done the wood stove. I haven't done that yet.
Oh, I did it the other day.
I looked at the temperature. My house was 60 degrees, and I said, do I turn it
Back
up
to
a
the
notch?
sun.
I said, no, I'm going to save gas.
It's 42 here in beautiful downtown Guthriesville.
Oh, I just went upstairs for coffee, and I couldn't believe.
Okay, there's a couple things I want you to pay attention to. Notice the sharpness of the Anan receiver, much sharper than the Sun. I equate the Sun to like an old-style Kenwood receiver. It's very, very nice to listen to. So we'll keep going here, and then I'm going to bring the noise reduction in, and we'll see how each radio behaves with its own proprietary noise reduction systems. Sun?
Plumber.
Oh, that gusty smell and hot metal.
Yeah. When the fire burns and it got the box warm, the insert in the fireplace, I'm like, what's that smell?
Noise reduction?
It's also weird here.
It does that
Before I
once a
turned the
year.
radio on, I went to the other part of the basement to check the new efficient gas furnace, boiler, excuse me. And it's hanging on a wall, and it doesn't make any noise at all. There's no noise, and I'm used to an oil burner and a blower.
Yeah.
Noise reduction off?
Strange.
And
Nice,
you were
but
saying,
strange.
Tom?
You know, I had to do that too. I had to install a new heater 2 years ago, but
Noise
due to
reduction
the size
on?
of the room and the constrictions, which it is very, very small, I had to use the same style heater, and I had to modify the.
Okay, so I have the EQ set up to slightly compensate for the stripping of the high end off of the audio using noise reduction on the Sun. So if you look at the EQ, this is the EQ I have running. Let me bring this flat. Put a little bump in the bottom. I'm going to put this flat, and you can see the EQ, what I have comped here. A little bit of boost in the mid-range just to help. So I'll toggle the EQ on and off now with the noise reduction on.
Okay.
You know, with the heaters, like Richard was
EQ
describing,
on?
is, I don't think I could have what he has. Well, we don't have gas for one, but you know, it just I'm kind of restricted with the size. I couldn't get, let's say, a larger one to accommodate maybe a new AC
On.
unit. I'm really restricted with size.
And we have forced hot air, right?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, Richard has
Off.
hydronic.
Oh, he has hot water?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got hydronic here, but I have cast
On.
iron baseboard heat.
And 3ZRX.
K1AB.
And 2 CBZ?
K3WH.
Off.
Well, I have them out every year now. This has been the third tune-up they've done, just to keep
On.
the thing in warranty. The same people that installed it tuned it. You know, just they do
Off.
their maintenance, you know, yearly maintenance anyway. I asked them to look at our AC unit and if it topped
On.
it off, if it needed any Freon.
You hear the top end kind of come back a little bit, the S's. Listen for that. Brings some of the articulation back in that the noise reduction strips off. Okay, going over to the Apache.
And there's a little math problem to give you a broad general rating of what the efficiency is, and it's still coming up close to what it was the day it was put in, so I'm surprised.
Oh, good. Nice and tight.
Yeah, so as for its age, you know, I mean, well over 20 years, knock on wood, it's still there.
Okay, noise reduction going
I don't
on.
think I'll ever own a forced hot air system again. Can't stand them. Why?
Because when they're off, they seem to be off, and it gets cold really quickly.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could say you're right. I mean, I can't see that.
Noise reduction off.
Up here is cold in the winter, and then the rest of the house is warm due to the wood stove. So
When it's off, it gets hot.
On.
Well, my brother has the same thing, Ted, and He runs that wood stove a lot, and he likes it. He's happy with it.
It seems like mini splits are being sold higher, or more so now. I mean, not higher. What am I saying? They're more popular.
Yeah, well, you get the dual benefit out of it: the heat sink and the air conditioning.
I don't know if I want that head unit mounted on the wall, though. It's where do you put that?
Well, it's not only that, but how's it going to look on the outside too? Where are you going to put the compressor?
Yeah, the piping and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I was in a place that had one.
Pretty quiet front end with a noise reduction on. Little artifacting, and this is in headphones, on speakers, it's really superb.
That big head unit where cut out in the wall.
That's surprising. They used to be very quiet.
Could have been. This is an early one. I know so little about them. I just know that it was a mini split.
Okay. Well, unless they got it on full bore,
Yeah, that could have been too, because it was hot during the summer.
Noise reduction off.
For 4 or 5 hours in the sweat, and I go in there and crank it out. Crank it down to whatever it would be blasting.
Much sharper front end than the Sun, isn't it? Okay, going back to the Sun.
Where's Anthony today?
I do not know.
Denny, you probably are not going to do too much motorcycle riding today.
No, not today. Maybe tomorrow. Let's see. I have
back to the Anan.
other stuff in the car today.
I would think it's a little cool.
You forget that I have heated stuff.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Well, you put the top up, turn the heater on, and go for a ride.
And again, it's supposed
back to the Sun.
53% chance of rain tomorrow. Let me see here. Well, it says scattered thunderstorms developing later in the day. That could change, so we'll see. Hopefully I'll get to go for a ride tomorrow.
Okay, back to the Anan. Okay, let's choose a different frequency where people are actually talking.
The design crew and everything else. I said to put a new piece. He says, yeah. So I said it'll be like 3 weeks where you get a new hard line, but it's working fine.
Kitchen clean out the now clean dishwasher and put that away. W2FBS. See you all. I probably will not be on tomorrow morning. Mike, W1QP is going to take the net.
On my eggs.
Butter or jelly on toast, and all is good. No ketchup.
I'll give you some eggs.
How about some grits?
Karen will eat those. I've had them. And they don't do anything for me. It's kind of like eating cardboard.
It's a butter delivery system.
You got to crack the yolk of an over-easy into the grits with a little bit of Tabasco. That's the magic.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Pan fry the grits.
Yeah, I don't know how she cooks hers. I never really pay attention to that. My wife's a Southerner, so that's common for her.
Pan fried?
No, grits, I meant.
Oh, I had them pan fried once. Loved them. Basically,
it's the butter delivery system.
You just load it up with butter?
Oh, yeah.
Back to the Sun.
Always good for the arteries.
A little butter, a little salt.
It's kind of oatmeal-like, isn't it? I mean, in a sense.
Well, except that it's quote-unquote gritty.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess I was trying to figure out the family. It comes from the like oatmeal family, you should say. Not comes from it, but it's similar.
Corn.
Back to the Anan.
That was something I never took to. I mean, she's I've many times cooked it, and I've tried it. I'm like, yeah, that's okay, but that's not.
Notice the sharpness again. Very sharp front end on the Anan. Let me get the noise reduction back in.
They put grits on the side. My mother goes, "What the hell is that?" And the waitress said, "You've never seen grits before?"
That's funny.
That's correct.
No.
I was waiting for it. Ain't you never seen?
That was a George Carlin line to the waitress. He said, what are these? And she says, those are grits. He said, yeah, but they're moving.
Oh.
So is the grits she make, I should say the cornbread, does she make cornbread that's sweet or not sweet?
Oh, sweet, and make it in a cast iron skillet.
Ooh.
I like that. That'll be like a holiday thing. We'll always have that around Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yeah, her mother is. I don't know if it's a southern thing to do. She saves baking grease in like a mayo jar, puts it in the fridge, but cooks with it. Maybe cooks eggs or something. That's just a little much for me. I mean, it's great, but it's a little much.
Well, I'd say it's still a southern thing. It used to be a thing here.
I knew a Greek guy that used to have a restaurant, and I asked him, how does he make his meatloaf taste so good? And he brought me in the back, and there was this huge can of bacon grease, industrial strength bacon grease that he bought. He said, just pour this in it.
That's right. It will make it taste grease. Oh, good.
But that really was the secret to his...
Okay, I think I may have exhausted that one, but that should give you plenty of stuff to chew on with between the two rigs. So I'm just going to give you my impressions and some observations. Unfortunately, I wanted to get to Alex as soon as possible. I did do a video. This was it yesterday morning? I captured a video comparing the two rigs during a very noisy band on 80 meters. I think it was in the morning or it was the night before. I can't remember. And the static crashing on the Anan, I cannot tolerate it. I'm speaking strictly for myself. The Anan is so brittle, so sharp. When you get static crashing, it's like melt your freaking face off. You can't even hardly hear it on the Sun. I shouldn't say that. That's an exaggeration. You'll see the pan adapter jump during a static crash, and on the Anan, you'll hear this wicked snap. And on the Sun, you can't hear it. You may hear like that type of thing. On the Anan, it's like literally melt the skin off your face. So I don't use the Anan, believe it or not, in noisy band conditions. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. These are my observations and what I prefer. Okay? Get all friggin' festered and hot and bothered and just think I'm bashing one radio over the other. I'm not. But as you can hear, if you listen good enough and you're not distracted, you can hear the difference between the two front ends. The Anan's hot. It's a great front end. It's smoking. Me personally, I've been always kind of a Kenwood kind of guy. So that smoothness, that kind of 1970s hi-fi Kenwood sound, the Sun kind of has that. It's kind of gives me that warm and fuzzy feeling. And it's what caught me off guard right out of the gate when I first got the Sun, I lit it up. I went, holy crap, that sounds really good. You know, very nice to listen to, even in really noisy band conditions. Is it as hot as the Anan? Hell no, it's not. It's not. Stake my life on that one. But they sound totally different. They're totally different front ends. So which one would you prefer for which application? Do you do a lot of contesting? Do you do a lot of rag chewing? Do you do a lot of DX hunting? You like working pileups? What environment do you spend most of your time in? Now you take into the equation the TX side of the audio, the RX side of the audio. You got to figure this out. There is a lot more to get into. So I'm not going to waste any more time. So let's jump right into like the GUI and all of this other stuff. So the first thing I want to go over is if you're looking at the Sun, let me get over to the other camera, and you look at the GUI on the Sun. Now keep in mind this is V2. This is not the current. I think the V3. I don't know if it's still in beta or what. I much prefer the V2. I haven't seen anything in the V3 that makes me want to go to the V3. Virtually nothing. I like the Sun's GUI because it's attractive and it's state-of-the-art looking. The color scheme is really nice. And everything that I need is right here on the main GUI. I don't have to go digging through a menu system. You know, if I want to go to the processor, I just hit this button and I can open up the processor from processing audio within the software. My EQ button is right here. I can go to the EQ, open it up, make a change. I don't have to dig for anything. The VAC button is right there. Geez, all your bands, modes are right there. Your RF gain, drive level, tune level for tuning the amplifier. Your mic level is all right here. You can select which input you're using for your mic. It's all right there on the main GUI. The meter, right click on it. You can select what functions you want on the meter, right? On RX and TX, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, what else? Bandwidth right here. So basically GUI function, right? And I'm going into the aesthetics here. Pretty quick. So if you want to move, let's say you want to move your filter with the spectrum, you can right click on the filter and drag the entire thing back and forth. Okay. If you want to just drag the spectrum, you right click on the spectrum and drag it to where you need to go. All right. So that's how that works. If you want, let's say you want to, let's grab this signal right here and you want to zoom in, you can right click, drag it to the blue arrow. You can also shift this blue arrow, which is your zoom position. Right click and hold on this gray bar and you can expand the pen adapter out. For those of you on a Sun, this is redundant. You already know this, but this is for people who don't own one, who are looking at one. All right. And this is not going to be that exhaustive. I mean, there's so much crap in here. AGC is right here. Your speed, AGC speed is right here on the screen. This BS right here, wideband scope. So this opens a wideband scope and you can look across a huge portion of, I mean, this is all the way through from 15 megahertz to 6 meters. I never really played with this that much. So, and you can right click and drag to the left. You can right click and drag to the right to zoom in. Works the same as the other one. You can expand it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if yes, you can. So you can choose to have the waterfall or whatever. Let's see. Your attenuator and stuff is right here on screen. I always run the Sun on +10 because I found that the Sun is a weaker front end. It's not as hot as the Anan. So a +10 on the Sun equates often to a -20 on the 200D on the Anan. 0 dB, and I put the Anan up against the 7300. -20 on the Anan equates to the raw front end of the 7300 on the S meter, more often than not. That's how hot it is. Most of the time I run it in -20. Okay, so we're just looking at all of this stuff. Let's go into the menu here, your sound card selection. The interesting thing about the Sun, right? You can't do this on the Anan. If you look right here, this is your primary sound card. This is how you're getting audio in and out of the rig. Robbie, I will answer that question in a moment. Let me get through here. Actually, let me just go ahead and answer that quick, and I'll go back into the menu. If you right-click on the meter and you go to RX, you'll see the RX S meter or ADC. On TX, you have a combination of meters: mic, power, SWR, combination of the two. So it'll show you forward drive as well as your SWR under transmit. So that's kind of how that works. Let's see, and I'll show you how to do that, how to manipulate the meter in Thetis on the Anan as well. We're going to be heading over there shortly. So let's go here. This is where you set your sound cards up. I'm running on MME in case I need the receiver so I can get it to OBS. I normally don't run it there. I run on ASIO on the primary station card. The interesting thing about the Sun, you have virtual line outs over here. This is interesting. You got 2 channels. If you enable this, this will also send audio from the rig out to another output. So let's say to the computer. You can't do that on the Anan. It's a very cool feature. I've used it off and on. You have your CAT control. I run CAT. I don't run TCI because I'm constantly going between radios and I have to reset my other software to use the CAT and not the TCI. The Sun sometimes can be quirky with the CAT. I've heard people have issues with running CAT with a COM port. I do run VSPE, Virtual Serial Port Emulator. I don't have a problem. Once in a great while, I'll light the software up and says, failed to connect to whatever CAT or something, I don't know, something like that. So what I do is I come in here and look, and this checkbox is unchecked and it's set to COM1, which is the incorrect port. Don't know why. It's just some weird quirk. Just happens every once in a great while. The rest of it, you know, you can go through. As far as backgrounds, this is where you choose your backgrounds. And this is kind of an interesting area compared to the Anan. You have the option of running in 4K. Let's see, you can go, you got your spectrum, you got your waterfall. You can set up a gradient waterfall. However, you don't have the option of running a gradient spectrum, which kind of bums me out because I use that a lot on the Anan. You do have a gradient waterfall, which I use instead of the spectrum. You see this down here? The gradient waterfall, I have this set up in S units, basically based on color. That's how I configured that. The background, the cool thing about the Sun is that you can grab any image and you can just save it to your desktop and you can go here and open it. And it's very cool, really, you know. Let's see, indicators, display, RMS, blah, 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 blah. All right, the rest of it, here's your TCI control. If you enable TCI, sometimes you have to fuss with the port. Depending on when you're connecting the software, you can read about the TCI interface. It's a brilliant interface. It's something that the newest Thetis, I guess, does have in the Anan. I don't run the newest Thetis because of the political nature of it. I don't believe in it. I believe it has no place in the hobby. So I'm still on, what is it, 2011 K8, I think, or something. So enough of that. No more comments on that. All right, so that's basically it. So let's get over to the Anan. Boy. All right. So sticking with the top section here. All right, and then we're going to get into setup and complexity. So the difference between the Apache.
Yeah.
The Apache and the Sun. You can see, obviously, Alex made an interesting comment. I think it was him. He said the Anan has like a 90s style GUI. He's 100% correct. Does it bother me? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. However, I'm going to go through some things that may sway you. If you really look at this GUI, take the aesthetics out of it. It is pure function. It's literally got everything that the Sun has pretty much right on the screen. You know, and up here in the bar, equalizers accessible, blah, blah, blah. All right, your TX bandwidth, selectable right here. Your RX bandwidth, selectable here. Your RX2, yada, yada, yada. Squelch, AGC, drive level, it's all right here, right? So yeah, it's not the prettiest looking thing, but it is extremely practical going on to the meter. So you have multiple selections on this meter. These are the selections here. Signal average, ADC, series of ADCs, off. You've got a whole slew of selections that you can select in this meter. All right. A lot there. One thing I wanted to mention with bandwidth, right? I am running on Protocol 2. And this is the Anan 200D. And this radio is old. It's probably 7 years old now. I'm running on Protocol 2. And I've been playing. I personally like I run the Anan at like 768K. 768 kilohertz bandwidth. And what that does is allows me to look at an entire band. And what I do is I look at the entire band and I sweep through the band without having to move the spectrum. I love that. However, once in a while, I get a sequence error, and I think it has to do possibly with the LAN cable. Not sure. It may pop up while we're on here. It'll pop up in red right here. It's not a deal breaker, but once in a great while, I'll get a sequence error. I have run it at maximum bandwidth, which is terrifying and totally not necessary with good results. Not everybody is able to do that. Enter the complexity and the stability. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to touch on, and it's important to me. To be honest with you, the Anan is not my go-to radio from that aspect. The Anan is incredibly complex to configure. It's not stable. And the reason why I say that, a lot of guys will say, sure it is. Sure it's stable. And I'll say, no, it's not. At least for me. I've had to reload databases, delete a database that's saved every time you close Thetis. It opens in its primitive state and then reload a database to get everything to snap back to normal. It just has a brain fart sometimes. Keep in mind, the software that runs the Anan is open source, okay? And that's not a bad thing from a developmental standpoint. The software is incredibly powerful. That's a good thing. But with that, and with this system comes an element of instability at times, and definitely an element of complexity. The Sun, however, if we go back to the Sun, the sun is not complex from the standpoint of once it's up and running. This radio, this software has been in almost 2 years. I have never had a single hiccup on this rig. It is absolutely grenade proof. However, if you're going to go with the sun, keep in mind that getting it running on a LAN, on your local LAN, is a flippin' nightmare. I fussed with it for 2.5 hours and had to get help from someone, and all it was a reboot of the computer I had to do, and they never said this in the instructional tutorial. I think it was done by Martin Lynch, maybe over in the UK. Can't remember. There's a video on YouTube on how to connect it to your LAN, get it going. Never said to reboot it, and Rick, NASCR, said, "Oh, have you rebooted it? Rebooted the computer?" I said, "No." He says, "Reboot it." Boom, thing lit right up, connected. Yeah, you gotta love it. Once it's connected, it is bomb-proof. Let me show you something that's critically important with the sun. Okay, let's go to device. See this address right here? 192.168.187.112. The sun functions different than the Anan in the sense that once you establish connection with your computer through your LAN, it writes that IP address to the firmware, to the radio, maybe the EEPROM or whatever's in there. So as long as your router, I found this out the hard way, which thank God I figured it out what was going on. I changed the router. So what happened was the router's IP range was different than this address right here. I had a 192.168.1 whatever. Well, it couldn't find the radio. And after doing a little bit of reading, I panicked. I was like, holy crap. So I panicked. I settled down and realized that all I had to do was go into the router and change the range to a 192.168.187. Let's say 100 to 187.200. Boom, made that change, lit up the radio, hit start, and it connected immediately. So the reason why I'm saying this is if we go back to the Anan does not function like that. The Anan, when you install the software and you light it up, it will go through an FFT windowing sequence that could take up to 20 minutes. Once that happens, it'll prompt you to connect to the radio. If that radio is anywhere on your network, you have to select the radio, as you see in the setup video I put up. If that radio is on and it's anywhere on that network, it will automatically find it and bang, there it is. It'll just light right up. It's absolutely awesome. So you don't have to go through any of that with the Anan. It's pretty much idiot proof. I can tell you that I have lost the Anan on the network before, and if that happens, gloves come off. It is a freaking nightmare to get the Anan back if you lose it. So just be careful if you're flashing firmware and doing things. Don't lose that radio on the network. If you lose it, there's a great tutorial on Rob's webpage, W1AEX. It's a tutorial I used, and I got the radio back because it changed something in the radio with the bootloader, and it made it look like it was directly connected to the computer, and it wasn't. It was on the LAN, and it would not see the radio. Anyways, I wanted to go over that. Complexity. Once the sun is set up, connected, you'll never have a problem with it running on V2. You won't. It's just like the 7300. I've had that for 6 years. Every time I turn it off, turn it back on again, could be a month later. It's always right where I left it, and it's, grenade proof. It always works. It's always there. Same with the sun. The Anan can be quirky. Just put that out there. And there's a lot going on with the Anan to get it operating properly. Okay, here we go. Went over complexity of setup, open source, stability, connection to computer, CAT, TCI. GUI. Okay, went through the dragging the filters, adjustment of meters, latency. Okay, latency. this is something else that could be important to you. So if we open the setup on the Anan and we look at the VAC panel here, VAC1, I bring my audio in virtually. Now you can bring your audio in analog. If you bring it in analog, you're going to have pretty much no latency, depending on how you're monitoring it. All right. If you bring it in virtually, let's say through a sound card and you have external gear running, this area right here says buffer latency, ring buffer, and port audio is going to be critical. You're going to want to run on some form of an ASIO driver, most likely, with an external sound card as a middleman to get it to the in and out of the Anan. You'll see right here overflows and underflows. Because I'm running on MME, this is unstable. If I uncheck this, they'll go away, but the latency will be pretty horrific, pretty bad. If you set this up properly with your ASIO card, you can talk with a monitor function on, and the latency is so low that you'll never even come close to stumbling over your words. However, pay attention to this right here, because this is important. This whole window where the VAC control is. Now we'll go over to the sun. There's so much here. Okay, if we go to sound card, this is it. This is the only control you get is the buffer size. And there is no way to get the latency down virtually on the sun. That to me is a little bit of a drawback. It's not a deal breaker because I bring my audio in direct through the front. It's actually the same cable as a Yaesu 857 Heil cable. So it's a 3-pin XLR, goes into the back of the rack and goes, actually it comes out of a direct box. Comes from the rack to a direct box and then is sent right to the front of the radio analog. So there's no latency as far as TX audio. You hit it, it's there. That's one way to solve that on the sun. Okay, we covered that. This is a big one. We went over display backgrounds and customization. Let me just go over that quick on Thetis, because I never did touch on that on the Anan. So let's get back over here. Okay, so you've got an appearance tab. And this is a pretty deep menu. It's got a lot of stuff in here. Appearance, if you go to RX display, this is where you set up your gradient pan adapter, right? You enable the pan adapter gradient, and then you start working with it until you get it to, I'm more about function. I don't care about the way it looks. Each color on the on that spectrum represents how do you say it? A range of S units. So that red right there you see on that signal, that's a 20 plus. That's 20 plus. So I can look at that. I don't even use the S meter. I can look at it and I know how strong someone is. I can give them a report, right? Yellow is 5.9. Blue is a 9 plus. In other words, 5, 10, 15 over. Red is 20 plus. So see, he's probably 10, 15 over right there, right here. So anyways, so the backgrounds. So if you go back to appearance and you go to general, the only way to get a background customized into Thetis is to basically fly to take an image, save it as you have to go, I can't remember, save it and format it in something like Photoshop, right? And then, God, I got to get this straight. Save it, format it, and save it in Photoshop, and it has to be titled a very specific thing, right? And I have a video on how to do this on my channel. And it's actually on the website, the ESSB website, so you can go in and look at that if you want to create custom backgrounds for it. The kind of the cool thing, and that's all done here, and it has to be put, and you have to overwrite the quote pic display in the skin folder in a particular skin. So what you do is you kind of go in and you find a skin you like and you match it up to like a background image you want to put in. You format and save an image in whatever image editing program. And it has to be titled Pick Display, follow the tutorial, you'll figure it out. And then it has to be put into whatever skin, like this is the K2GX World Blue I'm running right here. It has to be copied into that folder, which is in your roaming directory, and overwrite the pick display that's in there. And then it will pop up when it opens up. It will have the background in there like what you see there. All right. So that's how that works on Thetis. Now you can customize, you can do so much customization to the buttons. I don't know how to do that. I've never tried to do it, but as you can see, I mean, the RX display, you've got all different colors, intensities. You can change the alphas on all of the backgrounds and all kinds of stuff you can do with this thing. It's like, it's a rabbit hole. It's never ending. Your meter, all the colors, the color scheme. Takes a while to set up, but it's very cool. All right, that's on Thetis. So it may look 90s-ish, but what you can do with it is pretty in-depth. All right, we covered latency. We covered bandwidth. The heck? What was that? Okay. Let's see, bandwidth. Oh, there's two more things left. All right, hang on. All right. Okay, the bandwidth, I wanted to go back to the bandwidth quick. So the bandwidth on Thetis, on Protocol 2, and you have to be running Protocol 2 to get this bandwidth. Oops, I'm sorry, I just grabbed the wrong thing. What the heck am I doing? If you go to General, you go to FW Set, you have your bandwidth options, right? Oftentimes, the most stable bandwidth is going to be 192,000, which is 192 kilohertz. For me, that's not enough bandwidth. For most people, it is, right? I want to be able to stretch that sucker out, man. You know, zoom out and grab the entire from 3,500 to 4 megahertz. Most people don't like to do that, nor do they need to do that. It's just a peeve I have. I know I'm a freak. So on the Anans, if you're on Protocol 1, you don't get the speed. I have run Protocol 1 for approximately a full year, almost 2 years, and I never really had an issue. The one thing I noticed on the Anan is that when I jumped to Protocol 2, oh, there's a sequence error just popped up. You see it? I knew it was going to rear its ugly head. One thing I noticed when I jumped to Protocol 2 is the VAC, right? If you go back to here, the VAC is more stable, much more stable, it seems like, on Protocol 2. Now, there could be a reason for that because Protocol 2 uses a full gigabit bandwidth capability across your LAN. If you have a gigabit LAN, it will use it. Protocol 1 does not. I have a feeling, boy, look at that thing go wild. Let's disable that sucker. There we go. So you'd have to figure, is Protocol 1 a deal breaker? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's just that I had more luck. I was very reluctant to go to Protocol 2. So that's what I noticed. Anyways, that's an observation. Now let's go to the Sun. I get the menu up on the Sun. Okay. So I have the sample rate set maximum, 312, and you'll notice that the bandwidth available, if I zoom this all the way out, which it is zoomed out, so let's put this at 7 megahertz. So there's 7 megahertz right there. So I've got a total of about 280, 290 maybe megs, kilohertz of bandwidth, maybe 290, literally half of what the Anan has. Is it a deal breaker? Only you could decide. There's a great question. Which radio requires more demand on the computer, or are they the same? Let me tell you, Marvin, great question, and I will show you. Let me get the RX on. So the RX is running on the sun. See this right here in the bottom corner? This will float from 0 to 3%, 2%, 1%, 3%. Sometimes it even goes to 0%. Don't ask. I don't understand it. This sun is the most, now keep in mind, these are built for de-expeditions. They are incredibly passive. You can run them on a micro PC, a mini PC. Haven't done it, heard you can do it, I believe it. This thing uses absolutely no resources, 0. It's running at like anywhere from 0 to 3% at any given time. Now compare that to Thetis. I'm telling you, Thetis, you want a good computer. Not for the faint of heart. What do we got? Down here at the bottom, it's currently running at anywhere from 7 to 10%, 11%, 7 to 11%. I know people who are running, what are they? i5 processors, and they're running like almost 20% CPU on Thetis. Brutal. This software is brutal on a PC. It is. It's brutal. It can be very tasking. That could be a deal breaker for people. Don't buy an Anan unless you're planning on having either you have a good computer or, now will it run on an i5? Absolutely. I have a friend that does it. NALLC, John runs it on an i5 and it runs great, but it's pretty tasking. So just keep that in mind. Also the sun, go back to the sun. The sun sips amperage like a mosquito. And at idle, it's pulling about 0.8 amps. Now, when I key up and driving the amplifier on, let's say 10 watts. Geez, I don't know. I may see like 6 amps. Maybe not even 3 amps. Actually, I could probably just do that. So we'll check it. So I'll set my drive where I normally set the to drive the amplifier, and I will find a clear spot, and I'll just hit the tune button. Oh, it's not going to work on a tune, so let me set the tune at 35%, and I can tell you exactly what it looks like. So what you want to do is you want to watch this right here, bottom left corner. See this 12.8 volts and 0.8 amps. So I'm going to hit the tune button, and you will see what the amperage, the current draw is. Okay, and that was, let me check. So that's about probably, it's probably about 10 watts, 11 watts, maybe something like that. Yeah. So it's even, it sips amperage just like a mosquito. It really does, and CPU. So let me check to see if there's anything else covered. Oh, one more thing. Here we go. This is the most important thing. The most important thing to me. And this is huge. This is a deal breaker for a lot of people. If you have issues with any kind of noise, where diversity would be a benefit to you, the Sun, the expert, will never be capable of diversity. Noise canceling reception, because it has only a single ADC. It's only a single front end, single receiver, period. If you have an issue with noise and you need diversity noise canceling reception, you need a rig with twin ADCs. And for some people, this could be a real deal breaker. So the Anan, if you go into setup and you go to ADC. Here are your ADCs on the Anan. You have two independent ADCs, two independent receivers, full independent receivers. This is capable of diversity noise canceling reception. Only capable if you have two independent receivers. You see me demo it, how effective it is. It's terrifying. So for some people, like I said, I'm not going to recommend what you buy. If you look at the price point on both transceivers, what do? You could probably pick up a used Sun for sub $2,000, and for another $1,000, you'll get another ADC, right? If you want like the bare bones, black bruised knuckles, like, you know, give it to me straight type thing. If you go back through this video, and mostly you watch the TX, the RX, especially the RX comparison, and then you take all of this other stuff into account, and finally you get to the point where you say, geez, it would be nice to be able to null out noise, right? I can tell you the only reason I'm keeping the Anan is because it has two ADCs and I have a noise that pops up occasionally. I much prefer the front end of the Sun to listen to, especially with the RX DSP system I run on it. It's just, it's smoother, it's mellow. It's nice to, when the band is, when there's a lot of static crashing, I really am not in the mood to have my face melted off, because that static crashing on the Anan is just, to me, it's intolerable. Now, that's just me. So you guys take it for what it's worth. For you, it may not bother you a bit, but that's something to consider, maybe. So, you know, you guys figure it out. Is it worth another $800 to $1,000 for diversity noise canceling? Because when it all comes down to it, that's what it's all about. They do very similar things. It's hard. That's why that question from Alex was so loaded. It was a very difficult question, and I figured I throw it all at you, and you can make a decision. All right. There's more I could go through, but there actually is one more thing, which is freaking really cool. Will I ever get rid of the Anan? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Probably one of the coolest things about the Anan that the Sun can't do is this. I love my knobs and freaking buttons. Where is it? That guy right there. That is the MIDI controller. The cool thing about the Anan is that it's MIDI capable. Brilliant. Absolutely flippin' crazy brilliant. See? Right here, configure MIDI. Basically take a MIDI controller. You'll notice when I run the Anan that you'll see the AGC line moving, and yet I'm not on the GUI. That's how I'm doing it. I'm doing it through the MIDI controller. It's quicker. It's easier instead of hunting and pecking with a stupid mouse on the GUI. I hate that. That's one thing I dislike about the Sun, is that the Sun doesn't have this capability. It has no MIDI capability, which I'm telling you, that would be a game changer on the Sun if they brought MIDI into the equation. Freaking awesome. So, yeah, I forgot about that. I just looked at my list, and that was the very last thing. So, oh, Really cool. Really cool option there. Basically brings it into a conventional superhat realm. So anyways, that was a long one, you guys. I told you it was going to be brutal. So no recommendations as to which one to go to. I will never recommend which one to go to. I will tell you what I've observed with the two based upon my operating style. In no way am I making a recommendation as to which rig to go to. I'm just presenting the differences between the rigs and what I have experienced. Some things mileage will not vary. Some things you can't change. So it's going to come down to what you prefer, how much money you want to spend, your operating style, what do you spend the most time doing? I can also tell you that the sun in a contest environment is absolutely insane. It is so good. I ran this radio during the CQ Worldwide DX contest last year. Go in and watch that video. The sun ate the Anan for lunch. As far as copyability of signals in brutal QRM in an extremely narrow bandwidth. Go in and watch that. Interesting. They each have their pluses and minuses. You know, it's such a hard decision. I don't know what I would do. Let me just lay it out there. I don't know what I would do. If I was posed with being a poser, if I was posed with, let's see, I've got money for an Anan, or I've got money for a sun. Which one would I get? At this point, I honestly don't know. All I can say is good luck to you. You're playing some instruments and play us all a song. No. Frank, I've been wanting to get everything going back there again, but see, the wife is home. She's working from home now, and I just can't. I've got all this time during the day, and I can't do it. So, I'll bounce this room is double drywalled and insulated. It's the old studio, right? So it's pretty quiet. It's really quiet. And solid doors. And it's in the basement. But I'll tell you, that drum set, I get freaking pounding away on that thing, and it shakes the entire house. So I can't do it because she has conference calls and all kinds of stuff going. So, okay, I'm going to sign clear, and I'm going to run through the chat and make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, good. There isn't that much in there. Definitely comprehensive, mostly understandable on a good day. Good, okay. Yes, Thetis is like a variant, really. It's very similar. There's a lot more in Thetis, though, than Power SDR. I've looked at Power SDR through my M6 ENS Dave. Dave has a Flex 3000, and there's more things to play with in Thetis. Very complex. Yeah, Doug. Yeah, that's why I will never run the new Thetis. I think what he did is completely asinine, and I've lost all respect for him. It's actually to the point where I would sell the rig because it's absolutely despicable what he did with putting the flag on that software. That's sickening, actually. He's obviously an ignorant asshat and has no idea what he's talking about, what he's doing. He will, because that's coming. What's coming out? It's coming. Okay. 7300, Mikey. Okay. Let's go. There's Steve. How you doing, Steve? I really don't, VK5 views. I really don't. It's just, I listen to guys on HF that are just freaking brainiacs with this stuff. But I'm a very practical creature. So that's why I wanted to present this from a very practical perspective, in the sense that real world operating. This is what you can expect when you're operating these radios. I don't care about Sherwood reports. I think that's a bunch of freaking crap anyways. Pay no attention to the Sherwood reports. It's a joke. That's my personal feeling. I have a video on my YouTube channel. Go in and check it out. Compares a 7300, which at the time got, everybody was raving about the Sherwood report, right? I put it up against an old Kenwood TS430. Guess which everybody liked better? The TS430, 30-year-old radio. There you go. Made my point. You're welcome, Alex, certainly. South Africa, geez, how you doing? Boeta. You're welcome. Frankie, we'll catch you later. I was listening to you last night. What was it, 3828 or something like that? James. They are Premier Resonator, James. Premier Resonators from 1988. They're actually that's Rod Morgenstein's kit. No joke. That's Rod Morgenstein's drum kit. He was doing a drum clinic in Creative Music in Wethersfield, Connecticut. And I happened to walk in, and he gave them to Creative Music because he got a new prototype kit, which suspends the bass drums off the floor as well at that time. So he took that from Premier out of England, and he just gave him the kit right after the drum clinic. And if you don't know who Rod Morgenstein is, look him up. Freaking guy's awesome. Absolute mental case. One of the best drummers ever, voted like best progressive rock drummer 5 consecutive years in a row by Modern Drummer magazine. He's absolutely amazing. Look him up on YouTube. Rod Morgenstein. Okay. There's Todd. How's it going, dude? Okay. I'm out of here. And you're welcome, Caesar. All right. Take some time. Take your time when buying one of these transceivers. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to consider. If money is not, it's just so difficult because the front ends, as you hear, are very, very different front ends. Depends on what you want to do with it, what your preference is, Listen closely. I'll tell you what, I'd be pretty pissed off if I saw this video that I'm putting up right now and I was looking at these two transceivers because I would be a mess. See, I don't have to think about it because I have both of them and I can enjoy the benefits of each one. But for someone looking to buy either or, I don't know what I'd do. And that was not my intention. But we will see you all later. 7-3, have a great day. And I'll just apologize up front. Hope it helps you guys. And super nice to see you all in here. And one thing I wanted to say is I super appreciate all your support. I've heard people over the air talking about me. And it's been really nice. It's been really nice. All the hard work that I try to do, all the stuff that I try to present, people are watching. They don't contact me, which I don't care. I don't want people to, I'm not looking for accolades. I don't give a crap. As long as it helps people, very cool. But I've heard multiple times over the past few weeks, my call sign pop up. And I'm like, oh, what's that? What are they saying? And they're like, oh yeah, go to so-and-so's YouTube page. He's got some information on that or blah, blah, blah. And I guess it's helping, which is my intention. That's it. So I do appreciate, you guys spread the word. If you hear someone saying something, if you're talking to someone, say, yeah, I'm having a problem with this, or I need some information on that, and you just watch one of my videos, or anybody else's video for that matter, send them there. Send them there. Very cool. That's why I put this stuff up, man. I take the time. I've taken so much from this community, and it's very important to me that I give back, and we'll see you all later. 7-3, have a great weekend, and more to come, man. It's wild. Davy Crockett. Bill. Yeah, Bill. Good to see you, man. All right, you guys. Holy crap, Frank, that's quick. Wonder if it went to Doug. Did you send it to Doug? Oh, where's he? Down in Arkansas, I think, right? Old habits. No, you'll be happy. You'll be happy with either rig, really. I just don't. I'm trying to figure out which rig to sell, you guys. It's a tough one. Because I just love the front end of the sun so much. I love listening to it, especially with that RX DSP system. It's smooth and nice, you know. Oh, geez, really? Well, that's successful. I feel like everything that I do is somewhat successful, which is a huge plus because it's incredibly demoralizing to realize that nothing's getting through and it's all getting lost in the noise. So anyways, we'll see you guys later. 7-3. I'm out of here.